Okay, be honest with me for a second. Do your habits actually line up with the person that you want to be? Are your habits actually getting you any closer to the goals that you want to achieve? Your secret's safe with me, okay? Let's be really, really honest. No sugarcoating this shit. Are your habits actually getting you there? Most people don't fail because their goals are too big. They fail because their daily habits don't actually match what they say they want. So honestly, if nothing about your daily habits changed, would you actually get where you want to go? I think a common mistake that we often make when it comes to setting goals is we set the goal, we have a vision for what we want to be, we put it on our vision board, we put it in our journal, we post it on social media, we put it on our Pinterest board, we do all the things, and then we expect the universe to just drop that shit in our lap. But what are you doing to get there? We visualize the end product. We visualize who we want to be at the end of the process, but very rarely do we actually ask ourselves if our daily habits line up with that final product or line up with that vision of who we want to be. So in this episode, I'm going to help you. I'm going to walk you through a really simple self-audit that you can do, honestly, while you're just listening to this episode, to figure out if your habits are actually moving you forward in the way that you think they are, or if they're just keeping you stuck. And step one is starting with the end in mind. So the first step here is I want you to get really clear about what you want. And I think, again, this is commonly where we start when it comes to setting goals and visualizing who we want to be. But we often treat this as the start and finish, right? We'll visualize what we want to be and we kind of leave it there. And another problem with this is oftentimes when we visualize who we want to be or where we want to go, we're a little bit too vague, right? You don't really have all the details fleshed out. So in this exercise, we're getting into the nitty-gritty. I want you to think about all the details. Whatever goal it is you're trying to achieve, whatever person you're trying to be, think about all the details. I'm going to give you a really simple example of this. So instead of a very vague end goal like, I want to be healthier, I want to be in better shape, I want you to make your end goal, I want to work out X number of times per week. I want to have more energy. I want to feel good in my body. Maybe there's some sort of physical ability that you want to be able to do. Maybe you want to be able to run a certain distance. Maybe you want to be able to touch your toes without having to bend your knees. Maybe you want to be able to lift a certain amount of weight. What specifically is your end goal? How would you know if you've achieved it? What does it actually look like in real life? Because if your goal is not clear, then it becomes very hard for you to formulate habits to actually achieve this. It's like trying to get directions somewhere when you don't actually know the destination. You're just kind of going around aimlessly hoping that you'll eventually find the place you're trying to go, right? This becomes a lot easier when you have a specific destination. So if you need to, pause the episode for a second and think about this. Strip it down to the nitty-gritty. Think about all the details. How are you going to know that you've achieved your goal? What metrics have you hit in order to say, yes, I've done it. I've achieved the thing I'm trying to achieve. I've become the person I'm trying to become. What specifically have you done that is evidence to you that you've done it? Okay? Once you've figured all of this stuff out, now we have an end goal, right? Now we have a very clear destination that we are traveling towards. So now it's time to start mapping out our directions. Once you know your goal, the second step that I want you to take is the identity shift. Who is the person that has already achieved the goal that I'm trying to achieve? Who is the person that I'm trying to become? Like, what kind of person has those results naturally? What does their routine look like? What is their mindset like? What are they thinking about as they move through these habits? So again, going back to the example from the first part of this, if your goal is something fitness and health related, you're wanting to work out a certain number of days per week, you're wanting to feel better in your body, you're wanting to achieve certain physical goals, who's the person that's already achieved those things, right? The person that has already achieved those goals is someone who works out consistently. It's someone who has the discipline to do the hard things, whether they feel like it or not. It is not the person who's sitting around waiting to feel motivated and only does these things when they feel like it, right? Because that person is not achieving the goals that you want to achieve. So this is what I want you to start shifting, is start piecing together what kind of person you need to be in order to achieve those goals. And you can figure that out by asking yourself what kind of person would have achieved them already, right? Who are the people that you look up to who are doing the things that you want to do? and embody the way that they show up, embody the way that they think about this, embody the way that they approach their habits, their discipline, their consistency, right? Start to embody the identity of the person that you want to be. Because if you feel like you are operating in a way that is against your core identity, it's going to be very hard for you to maintain over the long term, because your brain is going to latch on to the identity that you have, and it's going to work very hard to prove that that is true, right? It is going to seek out information to support the fact that this is your identity. So if you become very clear on the identity of the person that's going to achieve the things you want, and you lean into really trying to embody that identity, your brain's going to see that. And your brain is going to say, okay, this is who we are. This is our identity. Let me seek out actions and let me push you to do the things that support that identity. So your brain will start working with you instead of pushing against you. Now here's where things can get a little bit uncomfortable. Step 3 of this process is habit mapping. I want you to take some time. If you're driving, you might have to pause this and do this later. But I want you to take some time and list out your actual daily habits. And again, be honest. This list is for you. And if you lie on it, you're only doing yourself a disservice, okay? So be brutally honest. What are your daily habits right now? Not what you want them to be, what they actually are. What are you currently doing on a regular basis? Write it down. How do your mornings look? How do you spend your free time? How do you spend your evenings? What do your meals look like? What kind of movement are you getting throughout the day? Once you have the entire list compiled and you've figured out what your habits actually look like day to day, I want you to make a second list. And that second list is going to be the daily habits of the person you came up with in the second step. The person who you want to embody, because that is the kind of person that is achieving the goals you want to achieve. So I want you to think, again, down to the nitty-gritty, the person that you are trying to become. What do their daily habits look like? What are they doing every single day? What does their morning look like? What time are they waking up? What do their meals look like? How are they spending their evenings? How are they spending their free time? Write all of it down. Write all of the things down that you think the person who's achieving your goals would be doing. Once you've done that, compare the two lists. And then I want you to ask yourself one question. Where's the gap? Where's the gap between the habits that you are currently doing and the habits of the person that would be achieving your goals is doing? Which brings me to step 4, is misalignment. The gaps that you're looking for between these two habit lists are often going to show up in 3 ways: contradicting habits, missing habits, or inconsistent habits. So what does this look like? Contradicting habits are going to be habits that fly in the face of what you're trying to achieve, right? If you are taking habits from your list and habits from your ideal person's list, they almost cancel out some of the good things on the ideal person's list, right? You are going in the opposite direction of what you're trying to achieve. Let's say, for example, your goal is wanting to be more productive in some capacity, but you're spending your entire evening scrolling on social media. That is a contradictive habit, right? That habit contradicts the person you're trying to be. That habit contradicts the identity that you are trying to embody. The next one is missing habits. So these are habits that just don't exist, right? You're not doing them in the first place. These are things that would have been beneficial to get you towards your goal, but you're not doing them. Maybe your goal was to learn a new language or learn how to play an instrument. But when you look at your daily habits and you look at your routine, you actually haven't spent any time learning those particular things. You never picked up the instrument, you never picked up the book or the app that will help you learn the language, you never picked up any of the things. So the action that you need to take in order to become that ideal person just isn't there. It's just completely missing. And the last one, which is kind of similar to this, is inconsistent habits. So you might be doing it, but you're not doing it consistently. You're doing it when you feel motivated, right? You're doing it when you're in the mood, which is not going to be on a regular basis. You can't rely on motivation for these things because motivation is flaky as fuck. It just is. If you want to become this ideal person that you are manifesting yourself to be, you're going to have to take the action consistently, whether you're in the mood or not. So if you're noticing inconsistent habits showing up on your daily routine, there's a good prompt for you to lean in to start doing these things more often, independent of your mood, independent of your motivation. Okay? It's going to require you to do these things a lot more often. And if you want to figure out how often does that ideal person do it? Right? The person who's already achieved your goals, how often are they doing that thing? And use that as your benchmark to start working towards. And I know this is probably the part that most people don't want to look at because it forces you to confront a lot of your bad habits and a lot of the things that maybe you've lied to yourself a little bit about. But this is the part of this exercise where if you are willing to be brutally honest with yourself and sit in the discomfort of what this actually is, it could change everything for you. This could be the key to you actually unlocking that goal that you want to achieve. So what do you actually do with this? The goal here is not for you to overhaul your life overnight. The goal here is for you to change your life one small habit at a time. So if you're looking at your habit list and you're looking at your ideal person's habit list and they are vastly different, that's okay. I don't want you to panic. I don't want you to throw your entire life in the dumpster and feel like you need to adopt this entire ideal person's list right away, because that's a good recipe for overwhelm and burnout. If we're going to engage with this consistently, which honestly you need to if you want to achieve the goal, don't burn yourself out trying to do too much right away, okay? So this is a good exercise for you to get a very clear idea of where you need to go. But then I want you to wade your way in slowly, okay? We are not cannonballing into the deep end after you finish this exercise. The first step I want you to take from here is just pick 1 to 2 habits. 1 to 2 things that are on that ideal person's list that are not currently on yours. Or maybe they're on yours, but they're not on yours consistently. Don't do them all. Don't do a complete reset. Just pick 1 or 2 things. And the next step I want you to take is make it very simple. So maybe it's picking a consistent time, or picking a consistent place, or picking a consistent trigger to have you do this action. You may have heard James Clear in his book Atomic Habits talk about habit stacking, where you take something that you're already doing on a routine basis and you stack a new habit on top of it. Let's say, for example, the habit that you're trying to implement is stretching for 5 minutes a day. Maybe the way that you can habit stack this is taking a habit you already do, like brushing your teeth in the evening, and you can say, every time I brush my teeth in the evening, I will then do 5 minutes of stretching in my room right before bed, right? Same place, same time, same consistent trigger, which makes it very easy because you're not having to make a million decisions every day, right? You're not having to overcome a lot of decision fatigue to do these things. You just do it at the same time, same place every single day after this other activity that you're already doing. Make it simple. Make it very, very easy, because the easier it is, the easier it's going to be for you to follow through in the long term, and the easier it's going to be for you to adopt this as part of your identity, and the easier it's going to be for you to become that ideal person. Okay? And the last step of this is I want you to track it, because what gets measured actually gets done. And the nice thing about this is you having some sort of system to track your progress. So every time you do the habit that you're trying to do, maybe write it down in a journal, maybe check it off on an app on your phone. There's a ton of habit tracking apps that you can use for this. Just keep track of it in some sort of way. You being able to do that also gives you a little bit of a mini reward, right? You get a little bit of dopamine from getting to check this thing off the list and feel that sense of accomplishment in doing the thing each day. And so your brain gets a little more excited for you to do this thing every day because it knows you're going to get this reward, which is going to make it easier for you to follow through. Right? We want this to be as easy as possible. And so I want you to take these 3 steps and kind of keep recycling them, keep rotating them. Pick a couple habits, make it really simple to implement, track it, do it for a long time, and do it until it feels like it's a normal part of your routine. Do it until it feels like it's a normal part of your identity, and then add a couple more. And keep working from there until eventually your daily habits and the habits of the ideal person that you wrote down, they're going to look identical. They're going to look exactly the same. And because you tiptoed your way into it, it's not going to feel like you overhauled your entire life. It's just going to feel like you very slowly, very strategically shifted your identity. And now suddenly, you are the person that achieves the goals you want to achieve. You embody the identity that you want to embody. So really ask yourself, if you don't do any of this stuff, and you just keep trucking along with the daily habits that you have right now, where are you going to end up? Are you going to achieve your goals? Are you going to become the person that you want to become? Because your success in achieving your goals is not determined by what you say you want. It's determined by what you actually do every single day. So maybe the real question here is not, what are my goals? Maybe the real question here is, what do my daily habits say that my goals are? And be honest. All right. Thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you next time.